Hi, everyone. This is Kerry Cassidy from Project Camelot, and welcome to my show tonight. Obviously, I've done a video that is telling people what really happened with William Tompkins, and I wanted to talk to everyone and maybe just get a conversation going about control of disclosure, because that's really what's going on here. So this is what the show is all about. In the chat room, if you send me your questions, I'll try to answer them, and that's really what's happening. So hopefully this broadcast is working, and not that easy to do everything myself here, but I did say on my Facebook, if you go to my Kerry Lynn Cassidy Facebook, you'll see that I had been writing a couple of more in-depth comments after I did the video so that people would understand what was going on. So we had this show scheduled for around 3 weeks, maybe even more. It was scheduled before I went away on for Christmas. And then I called him yesterday just to kind of catch up and see if he was going to be okay with everything, you know, if the connection was a good one, etc. And we had a very good conversation. As always, I felt I was really in contact with him through, or with the Pleiadians through him. He is often channeling. He actually, I think, can't even control it. I think that's just the state of affairs. So I do think that this is the reason why they had him cancel with me, and I got this very obscure notice from Walter Noasad, who has been also in touch with him and who I had contacted the day before to try to set up a donation page to have him, because he's kind of a technical guy who's kind of working with Tompkins now and then, and to encourage them to create a donation page so people could donate to William Tompkins, because he clearly needs money. He does get paid for his speaking engagements. Normally, Camelot did pay him the first time I did the interview, and he was hoping to get paid this time when I interview him again for the update, but I explained to him that we'd have to do it via donations because I simply don't have the funds. So that's one of the things we talked about, and that's why I contacted Walter after that call to ask Walter if he could set up a PayPal account and work with William Tompkins to do so. Everything was fine as far as I knew at that point. We were all set to go live the next day. Walter was very happy, I think, to try to set something up for Tompkins. He did say he is sort of technically challenged and doesn't really use email, etc., but they were going to try to work it out. Now, during my conversation with Tompkins, we had talked about what we would talk about tonight. One of the main things was, of course, going to be about what he had touched on in my interview, which was the reptilian threat. And then we were going to hope to delve into that more deeply. And he was also voicing that he was very concerned that the real truth would turn people off. It would frighten them too much, etc. He did allude to the truth of it, the fact that reptilians do consider us as a food source, that they go through the universes looking for planets and looking for food sources. And he did say that actually children are one of its main food sources, and they do go after adults, but mainly children. And I can say that this is because of the kundalini aspect. Children have very active kundalini, which is a plasma substance known as orgone in the Western states, the Western world. And I've talked about this many times on my conferences, in my own lectures, and also with other whistleblowers and so on. Of course, Mark Richards is the primary whistleblower who has talked about the reptilians using us as a food source. I believe David Icke is well aware of this. He certainly is one of the people who brought forward the notion that reptilians considered us as prey. And many humans have very high levels of reptilian DNA. Some are taken over completely as well by an occupying reptilian, if you will. And others just simply have a DNA that matches the reptilian vibration and is really a descendant of that. We all have the reptilian brain, as you know, and that was put into humans in one of the final seedings of humanity to planet Earth. This information is also found in Ashiana Dean's work to some degree. So if you're not familiar with her work or her books, the Voyager series, I encourage you to read them. They're highly complex. They talk about all the different seedings of humanity over the ages. And the thing was that when humanity didn't have this human vessel, is what I'm talking about, didn't have a reptilian component that was later added, they were unable to defend themselves against the reptilian, influence and so on. And they died out very quickly because they were hunted down and killed and used as food. So once we got a reptilian portion of our brain, that gave us an aggressive side that would allow the human genome to succeed and for this experiment to continue. So it's important to understand that not all reptilians are negative. In fact, Mark Richards talks about the raptors who left planet Earth around the time of the extinction event that was supposedly making dinosaurs extinct. But of course, the dinosaurs really, the genome split, and perhaps more than once. One half went underground and considers the Earth their home, and the other left and is known as the raptor race. They went to, from what I understand, somewhere in the Draco constellation or galaxy. And they established their own society there. They got into space travel, etc. They are back here on the Earth now, and they are interacting with humans, Mark Richards being one of those people, and they are working with our Air Force. So this is the disclosure that Mark Richards had shared. He also talked about humans as a food source, etc. So Tompkins is not the first witness to talk about this. However, he seems quite spooked about it. Quite worried what people will think of his previous disclosures if he goes down the road of explaining the true nature of pedophilia, the children disappearing on the planet, the humans disappearing in general from national parks, etc. I mean, this stuff is rampant. And again, you can see my 5 Mark Richards interviews to really get a handle on this. So we talked about that, but I did assure him during my conversation that, of course he could say whatever he wanted and that I would simply ask him questions and he was free to, refuse to answer whatever he wanted to do. I also thought that, we would talk about other subjects, obviously. There were some things about, for example, the Trump coming into power, that whole thing. And he talked about how happy he was that had succeeded. He felt that that was a huge sort of American sort of bid for freedom, as it were, and feeling that it had not happened on this planet since really the 6,000 years that he said that the Dracos had been here and the reptilians really plundering this planet. So he really wanted to stress that he felt that was really important, what Americans had done when they went to the polls. He wanted to talk about that. And he also mentioned something very interesting that alluded to there being 3 main individuals who were responsible for this happening. He didn't elaborate, and I think that at that point he had said too much. I do believe that that may be one of the reasons they shut him down, because when he's talking to me, it's like we have an open channel between us, and he's unable, in a sense, to kind of censor himself. And so I am prompting him by just, whatever innocent questions I'm asking him, or even the not so innocent ones. And he is propelled to want to tell me the truth. And I think this scares the people who are trying to control disclosure. They want it to happen a certain way. As I posted on my Facebook page, it's important to know that disclosure cannot be controlled, that disclosure has been in the hands of the people now for years, that myself and many others have been instrumental in bringing forth this disclosure. And of course, thank you to the whistleblowers who have come to Project Camelot over the years, and other people out in the sector. So there's no way they're going to control the nature of disclosure at this point. I know that I've been told by whistleblowers confidentially that the Catholic Church, especially the Vatican, would like to control disclosure, that they want to be the sort of spearhead in the disclosure movement, which is why they had certain people like certain individuals at the church come forward and say that, ETs were all under God and Jesus and so on. So that is another thing that's happening here. Of course, Trump is about to be inaugurated. I'm sure it's a very delicate time. I'm sure they're very worried about that. I also know that it's quite strange that from my message from Walter, he said that Tompkins never wanted to speak to me again. And this is so strange, because yesterday we had such a great talk, and because he was so willing to be coming on the show tonight at that point. So between yesterday and today, something major changed, and someone certainly got involved in stopping this happening. So this is, I am always considered like what you might call a wild card. And I can say that conferences are controlled, that I am not invited to speak at the major conferences in spite of having a huge audience out there, because they're afraid of what I'll say, because of my intent and my, I guess you may say, a certain level of confidence in what I'm saying. Whereas a lot of people in this sector try to pretend, even when they know the truth, that they're still questioning, or they're still, open to other interpretations, that maybe it's not all true, etc. So that kind of covers their asses, etc. I just simply say the truth. I have, of course, been doing this in Project Camelot for over 10 years now, and I have ample whistleblower testimony that supports everything I say, including my own intuition and psychic perception and my own contact experiences. So I get downloads often, and they do protect me. I had a very amazing situation happen to me at the airport just the other day, because I was invited to speak on the Sean Stone show for Gaiam TV, which was just taped in Colorado, and I was flown out there just on Sunday and Monday of this week. And myself and Walter Noasad and a couple of the other people are going to be on that episode of Sean Stone's show. I don't know when he'll release it on Gaiam. And I was able to say quite a few very interesting things while I was on that show. But on the way back, first of all, they made me sick on the way there. On the airplane, I suddenly came down with a flu, cold, fever, etc. And that came on instantly, not over time. And I got to my hotel, and they also, my luggage went missing. So between LAX and a direct flight to Denver, Colorado, they conveniently lost my luggage. No one else's luggage was lost. So I waited an hour or two at the airport for the luggage to arrive, which was very slow anyway, and only to find out that my luggage wasn't there. It didn't show up until 1:30 in the morning, in Boulder, Colorado, where we're going to tape the next day. So I'm sure that this was, planned, coordinated, etc. Of course, I had nothing of interest in my luggage, just a few changes of clothes for the taping. So this is the kind of thing that goes on. Of course, other people in my sector that do the kind of work I do have been stopped at airports, have been searched, etc., and had these kinds of things go on. So I'm not necessarily unique in this way. It is, however, interesting that they did make me sick. I think I looked kind of like hell on the camera at that point, although I came back and then I was instantly better, like that. And what else? Oh, yes, I had a miraculous happening at the airport that I want to thank the ETs for, which is that normally when I go through security, I go through, that sort of a square thing that is supposed to be a metal detector. That I don't mind, but I don't go into that weird contraption that, makes you raise your arms and all this kind of stuff. So I always ask to be searched. But because I was feeling so sick, and I was so tired and just really exhausted by the whole, sort of attack that I was under, I just said, screw it, to myself. That time I didn't check my luggage. I had brought it with me. I had all my liquids. I didn't have them in this stupid plastic bag that they require, which is of course nonsense, but nonetheless. And American Airlines doesn't supply you with those plastic bags. So I couldn't put my liquids anyway in the plastic bag. So I just threw them in my purse and said, fuck it. Whatever happens, happens. And I also brought my suitcase, as I say, along with me. And just as I got to the place where normally I say I'm going to be searched, I'm going to let them do the pat down thing. I just said, silently to myself, screw it. And then there was a woman in front of me, and I tried to step to the side so that I could just go through that square little metal detector. And, the woman officer that was in charge there motioned me back to go through that big old contraption. So I just said to the universe, okay, I'm just too exhausted. I can't handle anything else. So I guess it won't kill me. I'll just go through this stupid thing. And I said, and then I saw that there was a woman ahead of me, and I thought to myself, well, as she walked towards that contraption, what if it was to break when she got in it? And sure enough, she stepped into that big TSA thing or whatever they call it, and it broke right then and there. The officer told her to back out, and that she and I both had to go through just that little square metal detector. So I was, the force was with me, you might say. I was being protected, and I'm very grateful for that. It was also a nice sign that the positive ETs were out there, and possibly that my special power might be, ruining equipment, because I've had some other incidents in my life happen like this. So that's something that did happen, and I made it back, as I say, fine, but I got absolutely healed immediately after I arrived home. So as you can see, I don't have a cold. And so, there was no fever after I got home either, or anything like that. Now, when I interviewed Tompkins, of course, you will have seen my interview. If you're listening to this and you're watching, I imagine, you will also see that at the end, he complimented me and actually told me he loved me. So I think that someone has gotten to him to stop him from talking to me. I did try to call him, even though Walter Noasad told me not to. And he hung up on me after hearing my voice. So I'm sure he's afraid. He's 93 years old. I do understand. I'm sure he's trying to work with whatever division of the Navy is supporting him at this time and making these disclosures possible. I do want to thank him and them for all the disclosures Tompkins has made up to now. And I am sure that he will still talk to other broadcasters besides myself, because most of them are quite tame and simply go along with the program. So that's basically what I wanted to talk about. Now I'm going to look at the questions and see if there's anything here that you guys are asking me. So if you want to go ahead and put your questions in caps, I'll just try to read from the screen here below. I've got